I think that the assumption that those guys know everything is, or us guys know everything. I've been in business for years, so have you.
Yeah.
Kind of know everything, and the reality is not only do you not know everything, and this is where the consulting could come in also, is it can be very lonely. Because
Yes.
you're, particularly if you're the guy.
I actually wrote that down right here.
Look at that. Right. We're cut from the same cloth. Yes.
Lonely at the top. That's right.
It can be very lonely. I think that's also misunderstood, is how can that be lonely at the top? And it
Right.
really can be. And so those groups, or a mentor or a consultant or a coach,
Right.
all of those things, if they're effective, can really give you some perspective that you would not otherwise have. I'll tell you a real quick story. I was working with a company, a couple of young guys, brothers, owned a company doing automobile upgrades. And I had helped them move into a different building. They'd found me online and reached out to me, and it was a neat conversation. They did really well with the business. But when I met the second brother, after about a year and a half, I'd never talked to him before. His first question to me is, why are you worth so much per hour? And my answer to him was, well, I'll tell you what, you can go back and kind of come from nothing, start a company and almost lose it half a dozen times, and finance your house and put everything on the line and work 15 hours a day for a decade plus to get it into place and raise a family and do all these things and buy buildings and go into bigger buildings and do other deals and branch into. And 25 years later, here I am. You can pay me my hourly rate, or you can go do that for the next 25 years and then you'll have the experience. Which one do you want to do?
Wow.
What's your choice?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to him, and I wasn't sarcastic. Maybe I told that story a little more sarcastically than what I did, but he said, that's the greatest answer I've ever heard. I just saw the number and thought, who the hell's worth that much per hour? But when you break it down like that, he's like, that I see why my brother is so high on you the way that he is. And I said, yeah, because you're just bringing that perspective. So I think that's another good example for the listener for what you bring to the table, is not only your own personal experience through the military and also whatever business that you've done, but also the people you work with, you learn every time. So the bigger your customer base, the bigger your database to choose from when helping other people. Does that sound like a reasonable statement?
100%, and I'll tell you, if I look back and just kind of reflect on my early days of coming out of the Air Force, I was a fish out of water. Because remember, I spent 18 to 19 years growing up in a military family. So we were still immersed in that culture, oftentimes living on a military base. And whether you're military or not, I don't know if you're a veteran, but
no,
it's a culture. It's its own culture, and it's very different than any other culture, especially once you get into the Air Force or into the military. So I spent 20 years in the military, and it's a strict culture. It's a very defined and standardized culture. So if you spend a fair amount of years in there, again, for me, 20, but then 19 before that, with the relative same concept of being boxed off, I got out at 40 years old and felt like this was my only shot at going for what I wanted to, because I said, if I go get a job, and I knew this from mentors earlier and from talking to other people, that if I went and got a job, I knew how that would work. You get into the job, you start buying stuff because you now have some good income. And by the way, I was an enlisted guy, so my pension when you get out of the military after 20 years is I thank God for it every day, but it's not that much. I mean, you've got to work. And so in any event, I came out thinking, I have no clue. It was like it's like anybody listening to this podcast, just out of nowhere, you've never traveled the world. You've maybe rarely been out of your own state. And one day you pick your stuff up and you move to China.
If you like this clip, you're going to love the whole podcast, but you got to make sure to like, comment, follow, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And if you want to catch the whole conversation, go to jerrybrazy.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.